week before. They took the Rams right down to the wire.
The Cardinals are the top spot at the moment. That's not going to hold. Kyler Murray and the Cardinals are not going to win this division, but they are 5-4. After that, you've got the Rams, the Niners, each 4-4. The Niners, God willing, man. I mean, if Christian McCaffrey ever does come back.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
Are they definitely done with Daniel Jones from this point? And any shot that Dable is off the sidelines, meaning he gets fired before next season?
They have a general manager in Joe Shane. Every big move has to get approval by ownership. So look, the bottom line is they don't know who their future quarterback is past this season. Tommy DeVito's clearly not the answer. They don't have Drew Lock's not the answer.
Pro Football Today, only on SportsGrid.
A lot of concern, I would say, for Georgia in Carson Beck. 3 interceptions. Once again, his third 3-interception game in the last 5 for UGA.
You can argue if they had Alex Orji as their starting quarterback for Georgia, they would be perfect and unbeaten right now just by not turning the football over and running it with your talented backfield.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
What's up, everyone? This is Pro Football Today here on SportsGrid. Thrilled to be with you for 1 hour, 60 minutes on the nose. Adam Kaufman, Tom Vecchio, Dave Sharapan, talking not one, but 2 games on Monday Night Football. A doubleheader on MNF. And look at Sharapan. Look at you, man. You take my breath away. Yes, full screen that, man. You are gorgeous. What motivated this entire tonight?
The Vikings are playing tonight on Monday Night Football, and they're the purple team, like of all things purple. And tonight, they're wearing some all-white trash. It's all white. Ooh. It's just all – I hate the uniforms. I said, you know what? If the Vikings won't wear purple tonight, I will break out the purple suit for tonight, and I will represent for all of the purple people eaters of the past, fans, Vikings. I totally disapprove of wearing white at home unless your team name is the Dallas Cowboys or you're a Florida team playing in September, so the other team has to wear the dark jerseys. So I said, you know what? I ain't telling nobody. I'm just showing up in a purple suit like the Joker. I'm coming in. You can be Commissioner Gordon. Vecchio, you can be Batman tonight, baby, because we got 2 games and all kind of props. Listen, Adam, it was one of those weeks in the NFL. The favorites went 10-3 straight up, 9-4 against the spread yesterday. Everybody won. Books were crying the blues all morning. All my friends were like, oh, right before the holidays. Oh, everybody won. Let them win. People need Christmas, Hanukkah money. Gifts.
We got to buy presents.
Yes. And we'll find a bunch of presents tonight. That's why I'm wearing this.
I just think these are, I want, obviously, your thoughts, both of you, over the course of this show in terms of prop betting. There's a whole lot of name recognition, a lot of talent in both of these games. But also what makes these games really interesting, really compelling here to cap Week 15 is there's importance to both of them. You have the Falcons, who are still, I mean, they're not a good team, mediocre at best, but they still have a shot at winning the NFC South, obviously, because that division is just absolutely putrid. And the Vikings, even more so here, a team that comes in, I would say, rather quietly with 6 straight wins at 11-2 after seeing the Eagles win. However, the Lions losing. This is an opportunity for the Vikings to join the club at 12-2, have a three-way tie atop the NFC, at least in terms of record. I know not in terms of seeding, because you will have two of those teams in the same division in the NFC North. And I'll tell you what, let's start with this, Vecchio. I think Minnesota is going to roll tonight. I know these teams matched up only a few weeks ago, and it was an overtime game, a 3-point win for the Vikings. We're looking at a 6.5 to 7-point spread in this one. Getting Minnesota inside a touchdown against this reeling Bears team feels like a gift to me. How do you see it?
I'm totally on board with that. I think not only are they the better team overall, but like you said, these games have a lot of further implications when it comes to the playoffs. So, this is the time of the season where, the teams experimented with what works on offense, what doesn't work. Now is the time to get the best players the ball. They need to win these games. Like you said, we're not dealing with a week 2 where they have all this runway to kind of, figure things out. We know it works. We know it works for these offenses. Let's get the top players the ball. I think we should actually be in for some higher scoring games, specifically from the Falcons and the Vikings. And this is as straightforward as we possibly want. We know where things are going to be leading. Now, when it comes to each specific game, I normally have a player of the game. I actually have 2 for tonight, 1 from each game, as you would assume. We have some secondary props, which we can get to. The Vikings are great at taking the ball away. I may or may not have called some defensive touchdowns at times on this show. I am ready to roll, and I think we are in for 2 great games tonight.
Dave, I feel like I don't need to ask you who you think is going to win this Minnesota game based on your attire, but truly, I mean, what does it take for the Bears, who, again, stink? What are we looking at? 7 straight losses out of Chicago. Yep. The offense was, took a little bit of a boost after the coaching change, and now it's backed off again. Some believe because the interim head coach is sort of doubling his OC and just has maybe too much on his plate. Does Minnesota run into a little bit of trouble as it did the last time these two teams matched up, when the Vikings had to hold on and ultimately prevail in extra time?
Well, if they do, can you alert anyone listening or watching the show anywhere to get to your nearest sports book or open your app and bet the Bears? Because it's not happening. It's been sitting 7. Early indications in the beginning of the week were 6.5 was the number, and it moved to 7. It's been sitting at 7. We're bouncing the juice back and forth in some books where it's 7 even money, which means dog minus 120, but they're not getting off the 7 before kickoff, which is, less than an hour away. I don't think so. I mean, it was a favorites week. It feels like it's going to continue to be a favorites week and finish this thing out tonight. I don't know. 2 great games, Vecchio. I think we get 1 good game, and then we get the game here in Vegas. Tickets are cheap. I could pick you guys up. We could go sit right next to the field tonight if you'd like. In Vegas here tonight, Atlanta is a road favorite. And listen, bad guys are looking to play the Raiders. And I don't know. There's a lot of talk around town that the team is tanking, that they're not trying. And then there's some other talk about around the space that Kirk Cousins has thrown 8 picks and no touchdowns in the last couple games. Him to throw a pick tonight got to be a winner. That's got to be one. And when you look at this game, I don't think this is great, but, man, hopefully you two, between the two of you, will find some great things to bet on other than the Atlanta team total over. They got to score points tonight.
When I say things are great, go ahead. I'll take it. When I say things are great,
we're stepping on each other. Please, Tom, go.
When I say things are great, as long as the props come through, as long as it plays out in the overall game plan that I'm envisioning, as I often say, we want to be looking in a certain direction for things to play out. As long as that happens, and I would say 2/3 of the props cash that I want to cash, that's a great game by my standards. A lot of people don't like games that end, 27-13 is what we could be seeing tonight. I don't think that's too much out of the question when a third-string quarterback is starting for the Raiders. Will there be punts? Will there be missed field goals and stop and play, this, that, the other? Yeah, that's what we might be getting, a team that's maybe pushing towards the playoffs versus a non-playoff team. But as long as the props hit, that's a great game in my opinion.
But wait a second. Hold on, Adam. Let me jump in.
Real quick, ask any gambler, man. Like the Ravens and the Giants was a great game. Why was it a great game? Because my wallet was invested in Baltimore covering that gigantic spread. We want to win. That's how we define a great game.
But a great game. We were last together on Thursday, and we talked about all kind of props and all kind of things happening. We couldn't even get a touchdown. There was nothing great in that game except great for the sports books. 5 field goals, 12-6 final. What the hell was that? I mean, that was not a great game. I think we could agree. Adam, would you agree?
But to that point, it was a bad game because, one, just as a consumer, it was a bad football game. But more importantly, Tom, Dave, because none of our bets hit. Everything that we talked about on the show, everything that we loved, everything we gave out was terrible. Great, the under hit.
I did say the Rams money line. I don't want to pump my own tires, but I did say Rams money line in the under. You also who was the receiver you shouted out in that game? Well, it was Cooper Kupp, but we're not going to talk about that.
That's what I mean. All the props were crap. All right, so listen, we believe in the Vikings. Is it going to be a Jefferson night, an Addison night, a Jones night, an Hawkinson night? I don't know. We'll find out. And obviously, you got the Bears side of things as well. But we got to talk about this other game, Falcons and Raiders. Dave said it's in his backyard. Could we get a good football game? Could we get the home team to play spoiler? We'll return on PFT.
So my team didn't win this weekend, but I still did with this app that's taking over the game. Sports Millions Pick'em lets you make quick and easy predictions. Pick your favorite players, go higher or lower, and you can still win big even if your team loses. Plus, the multiplier is insane. With just a few picks, you can win big money. So get on it. They've got a welcome bonus to help you start off your winning streak.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Back here on Pro Football Today on SportsGrid. Thanks for hanging out. Adam, Dave, Tom, we'll give you some best bets over the course of the show. Got you till the top of the hour talking about this Monday Night Football doubleheader. A lot of the opening segment spent on the game that does begin at the top of the hour, whereas we're just a little bit more than an hour away from the second game in Dave's backyard in Vegas. I hate that they don't stagger these games. Not really. A half hour doesn't count. That's not staggering. I mean, I want like 7 o'clock and 9:30 or 8 o'clock and 10:30. Like, give me truly staggered. That is not this. But anyway, Falcons and Raiders, guys. Atlanta with Kirk Cousins, maybe. I mean, he's going to start. Will he make it through the entire game versus, Dave mentioned all his interception issues and lack of touchdowns and struggles that he has had. Will we see Michael Penix in this game? There are some that believe that is a possibility. But Cousins is a 5.5, 6-point favorite, depending on where you do your shopping against the Raiders. And a little revenge narrative. There's no Aiden O'Connell. Desmond Ridder is the starting quarterback for Las Vegas. How do we play this one, Tom, in terms of the spread? And obviously you could touch on the total as well.
Oh, I have no faith in the Falcons to cover, right? That's just what it comes down to. I think we all agree that the Falcons are the better team, right, in this circumstance. We're not saying that the Falcons are Super Bowl favorites. We're not going to say that's going to be pushing deep into the playoffs, but they are the better team when it comes to comparing these two. A, we have a third-string quarterback for the Raiders starting in Ridder, and B, Max Crosby is out tonight, and he's not just out tonight, he's done for the rest of the season for the Raiders. So they are missing their best player. Their options on offense are limited. The options on the Atlanta side of things are far better. So Atlanta wins this game. 5.5 is a bit too much. If it was, 3, I'd be far more comfortable going to the Atlanta side of things. So I think they win. I'm not sure if they cover. I think we will see a good game from Kirk Cousins. I'm not going to say it's going to be amazing. Obviously, he has a very low bar to cross compared to where he's been over the past few weeks. But once we dive into some of the players, I think we can get to a very specific option for the Atlanta offense. And then maybe we look to Brock Bowers on the other side, whatever it might be. But, man, 5.5 is just a bit too much.
Wow. All right. So you made a case for the Raiders.
I'm not making a case. I'm making a case against the Falcons, not necessarily in favor of the Raiders, if that makes sense.
Okay. That's fine. All right. I would much prefer that. The Desmond Ridder revenge game is a fun narrative. I don't think it exists, but that's fine.
It's a low prop. He's only at 213.5, something like that.
I don't know, but I hope he has some success. Okay. But I'm thinking that after the success of bettors yesterday, a lot of things are rolling more toward the Vikings money line or the Vikings on a teaser down. I think if you're looking at this game, you're thinking like Tom and taking the points or taking it up. Like, how can Atlanta win this thing by double digits? Well, the only reason they're going to do that is probably because of Ridder and making mistakes. Will there be a turnover? Yes. Will he probably throw a pick? Most likely. There might be a fumble or something in there that's going to swing this thing. There might be a defensive /ST. That's for the industry knowledge. That's special teams touchdown tonight in this game.
DST play.
Pardon me. That's the fantasy guys. That's it's official way to say it. I apologize.
That's right. Let me give you guys a trend. I'm just curious if you would buy into it for this particular matchup tonight, because the trend itself is overwhelming over the course of this season. So every Raiders home game, Raiders home game, and so far there have been 5 of them, which they're 1-4, by the way. Every Raiders home game has gone over the first half total. 5 of the Falcons' 6 road games have gone over the first half total. So that is a combined 10-1 to the over on the first half total for these two teams. Now, first halves in Las Vegas, just to continue throwing numbers at you, first halves in Las Vegas have averaged 23 points per game, while the Falcons' road first halves have averaged almost 30 points per game, 28 and change. The first half total, this is the payoff here. The first half total, Tom, for this week, this game, is 22.5. Do you believe that these two offenses can combine for 23-plus points in the opening half?
Oh, that's a tough line. 20. I mean, if you told me the Falcons were winning this game 14 to 3, 17 to 3 in the first half, I wouldn't be shocked. So I think I have to lean on the under. I'm not expecting much from the Raiders offense today. I don't think they cross 17 points total. That's where I'm at. So getting that. I mean, the Falcons would have to score 3 touchdowns, and then the Raiders have 3 points. So it's 24 points in the first half.
17-7, boys. That's what the number is. That's where you come out of it. Either 14-10, 24, 14-6 is 20. I don't think either team gets shut out in the first half, which would lead you toward that number. The numbers are getting harder. The odds makers have all of the information as we get down to this final stretch. This is the final games of week 15. Making the numbers is not that hard right now for the books. And all we do is take the bets. And the games fall right around here, or they blow them out of the water like they did yesterday. I mean, we tried with Baltimore yesterday. Made it 16.5 or 17 on the road. I could have worn the purple suit yesterday because the Ravens covered it. But they were playing the Giants. Mm-hmm. The Giants.
My favorite bet of the week.
Was the Ravens laying the lumber? You didn't even hesitate, did you?
It's my favorite bet of the week. Didn't even question it.
Yeah.
Against the Giants team led by Tommy DeVito, at least to start, averaging 10 points per game at home, and the Ravens with the importance of that game. That's not our focus tonight, but yeah, absolutely, overwhelmingly, I loved that number, and I didn't ladder him up, and my only regret is that I didn't.
Adam, so if you like betting against the Giants, and we can, look to the future a little bit later in the show, but next week, the Atlanta Falcons play at home against said New York Giants. The look-ahead number is 10.
Yeah.
If Atlanta wins convincingly tonight, expect to wake up and have that number be 11 or 11.5. So if you're going to make another play against the Giants and you want to get the best number, do it tonight before they play that game.
There you go. A little something to consider. Like Dave said, we'll look to the future a little bit later in the show. Man, it's all about streaks with these teams coming in. Some stuff's going to extend, others will lose, obviously. But the Bears, 7 straight losses to the Vikings, 6 straight wins. And then the Falcons and the Raiders, they both suck. Atlanta, 4 straight L's, and meanwhile, Las Vegas, it's 9 in a row, 9 straight losses, and now we're to believe Desmond Ridder can win the game? Oh, somewhere Arthur Smith is laughing his butt off. We'll be back.
I want the mid-major teams. I want the A-10 to get 3 bids. I want, the Missouri Valley Conference to get an extra bid. I want these teams to go ahead that are 1-bid leagues and give some of these other teams opportunities to make the NCAA tournament. Simply put, folks, when we get to the tournament, we don't care about all these teams that are big-time teams.
Betting above the rim. Only on SportsGrid.
Right here with you on Pro Football Today on SportsGrid. Odds in motion, trying to see what lines have moved throughout the week.
Never felt more comfortable in this set than I do for this year. I'm ready. I'm just getting angry. The hot takes are going to be here all people.
You don't want them to go 13-0 and then lose the first round of the playoffs.
Red.
Yeah, this is their last shot. They don't really have anywhere else to go here.
Hot take.
By the time I hit, guess what, Route 33 up here, that ticket's cashing.
Only on SportsGrid.
Uncle Stevie can just walk up the aisle like he's at the supermarket. I'll get a starting pitcher here, I'll get a closer here, I'll get a first baseman here, and he'll just keep throwing things in the cart because there is no limit.
Now he's gone, so they got to go get arms to make that team better. Because the bottom line was they were just outclassed by the Dodgers. Let's face it, they got their ass beat.
Pharrell Coast to Coast. Only on SportsGrid. The Bostonian versus the Book.
I remember one time, I don't know if Kenny will remember this, I said put 100 on, I think I left it on a text, put 100 on this horse that won, and then Kenny called me back later and goes, hey, I never got the text. And I'm like,
no.
Oh yeah. Remember that, Kenny?
I would never stiff anybody. He texted me as they're loading into the gate, maybe, like it's too late.
The Bostonian versus the Book.
We are back here on Pro Football Today. It is time for some same-game parlays, maybe same-game parlay pluses. Let's find out.
Ooh.
That's right. I got crap. Last time we had a Monday Night Football doubleheader, I built out an SGP plus, not just, locking in on one game specifically. And, I didn't know we could do that. We're going outside the rules. Yeah, you can do that. So, Tom, what'd you do? What are your favorite plays thrown together in an SGP tonight?
SGP plus, like you said, break all the rules, do whatever I want. We're going tonight. It's at plus 470. Starting off, Vikings money line. Not only are they the better team dramatically compared to the Bears, but this is an extremely important game for the Vikings. As you said at the top, Adam, we saw the Lions lose. We saw the Eagles win. This is a game, again, take care of business at home. No messing around. We saw them stumble in some home games throughout the season, that Sunday night game versus the Colts. No more of that. At home, take care of business. TJ Hawkinson, and of course, this SGP segment is a little bit of a prelude into what we'll get into for the players when we get into the players of the game. TJ Hawkinson, surprise, surprise, over 44.5 receiving yards to the Bears. They've allowed the 8th most receiving yards to opposing tight ends, sitting up at a total of 814 this year. That's part one. Part two, Falcons, they come away with the win. Like I said, important game. The Bucs beat and smashed the Chargers yesterday. So I don't want to lay 5.5 with the Falcons. I think the Falcons will win this game. So we're taking the Falcons money line. And then we're turning to Drake London over 64.5 receiving yards. Surprise, surprise. That's going to be the player of the game for the next one, which we'll dive into more for that. So the teams win, the favorites, yeah, it's juiced. And then we have key players on both sides. Hawkinson may not be the key player for the Vikings when we have Jordan Addison and Justin Jefferson and Aaron Jones coming out of the backfield, but Hawkinson's game, and he will find the end zone tonight, which we'll get into later. But those 4 parts for an SG plus at plus 470.
I'm a little surprised. Adam, you got to hit him with yours, because I'm trying to do that Johnny Carson thing where if I had an envelope in my head, I'm expecting a person's name to appear on your same game parlay. I'm sending it to you right now. Go ahead, sir.
All right. Well, listen, I've already built this thing out, so I don't know if it's gonna be there, Dave. So listen, before I know it's already up on the screen, but I just need to mention, I built out my SGP earlier today, and when I went to load it in to where Tom puts his, I'm not kidding. It was almost identical. It was almost identical. And I said, I can't do this to Vecchio again. This is ridiculous. I'm going to change mine. I'm going to offer something different to actually give Sharapan a real legitimate choice. All right, let's flash it up again. It's nearly a 4-1. I dropped the plus. I just went SGP for the first game, the Minnesota contest that I expect the Vikings to win. Now, I think the Vikings are going to cover in this game. Tom gave you the money line. I do think they're going to cover the full 7, but I played it conservatively. I went minus 2.5. Alt spread this thing just inside a field goal for Minnesota, which, by the way, that's what they did last time they played Chicago. They won by 3 points in overtime. So we would have cleared that number within this SGP. Minnesota minus 2.5. We are both very much in lockstep on TJ Hawkinson. Now that he's healthy, he's getting consistent snaps and targets, and he is a focal point within this offense. You know what he did last time he faced Chicago only a few weeks ago? Let me tell you, 7 catches for 114 yards. We are just looking for Hawkinson to give you 40 plus against a team that is very weak to the tight end position. All right, that's 2. Another one, Sam Darnold, his quarterback, the one who was going to be feeding him the ball. Darnold went well over 300 passing in the last matchup between these teams. It was the shootout, stats galore, both sides. Even Caleb Williams gave you almost 350 or whatever it was passing yards. He was excellent. Yeah, 340. I just looked it up. Darnold, we'll pull it down to 225. Conservative number. He has gone for 175 in every game this year. More often than not, hits the 225 marker. 225 out of Sam Darnold. The other one, I don't do this often. I'm going to give you an anytime touchdown play. Aaron Jones to find the end zone. The Bears have allowed the 5th most touchdowns to running backs so far this year. Okay? 5th most. Jones, he's a little up and down, I understand, but he has scored in 2 out of the last 3. Yeah, could be Addison, could be Hawkinson, could be Jefferson, could be all these. You know what? Could be Aaron Jones. And I think Aaron Jones, in a game that is going to produce points, is going to find his way in. That is my same game parlay. Again, on FanDuel, plus 378, Dave. Digest this. We're going to break in a moment, but early thoughts.
I'm very, very surprised. You actually picked a guy to score a touchdown. I have to have the whole break to absorb all of this. I was not ready for that. I really
wondered,
wasn't.
is he waiting for me to name Jacoby Myers or Brock Bowers, maybe Drake London like Tom Gate? No, Aaron Jones to find the end zone. We'll be back.
I want the mid-major teams. I want the A-10 to get 3 bids. I want, the Missouri Valley Conference to get an extra bid. I want these teams to go ahead that are 1-bid leagues and give some of these other teams opportunities to make the NCAA tournament. Simply put, folks, when we get to the tournament, we don't care about all these teams that are big-time teams.
Betting above the rim. Only on SportsGrid.
Right here with you on Pro Football Today on SportsGrid. Odds in motion, trying to see what lines have moved throughout the week.
Never felt more comfortable in this bet than I do for this year. I'm ready. I'm just getting angry. The hot takes are going to be here all long, people.
You don't want them to go 13-0 and then lose the first round of the playoffs.
Red.
This is their last shot. They don't really have anywhere else to go yet.
Hot take.
By the time I hit, I guess what, Route 33 up here, that ticket's cashing.
Only on SportsGrid.
Uncle Stevie can just walk up the aisle like he's at the supermarket. I'll get a starting pitcher here, I'll get a closer here, I'll get a first baseman here, and he'll just keep throwing things in the cart because there is no limit.
Now he's gone, so they got to go get arms to make that team better. Because the bottom line was they were just outclassed by the Dodgers. Let's face it, they got their ass beat.
Pharrell Coast to Coast. Only on SportsGrid. The Bostonian versus the Book.
I remember one time, I don't know if Kenny will remember this. I said put 100 on, I think I left it on a text. Put 100 on this horse that won, and then Kenny called me back later and goes, "Hey, I never got the text." And I'm like,
no.
Oh yeah. Remember that, Kenny?
I would never stiff anybody. He texted me as they're loading into the gate, maybe. Like, it's too late.
The Bostonian versus the Book.
All right, let's get some word from Sharapan on our SGPs. I gave you one, Tom gave you one. Let's refresh everyone's memories. Let's show you mine real quick, and then we'll get Tom's one more time. Again, there are some similarities. We both like Minnesota. I'm giving you the Vikings -2.5. Anytime TD out of Aaron Jones. TJ Hawkinson, 40-plus receiving yards. Darnold, 225 passing. Let's get Tom's here as well. And, Tom, I'll let you break it down.
Yeah, Vikings money line, Falcons money line, Hawkinson over. We're both big on him today. And then I am specifically very high on Drake London, which we will get to in a few moments. But it is going to be a Drake London game tonight.
I don't know.
All right, Dave.
What is a bigger surprise? The fact that Kaufman put a touchdown scoring prop in his same game parlay, or neither one of you have anything with Justin Jefferson in your same game parlays. I am in absolute shock. Okay. I have to pick one. All right. And listen, I appreciate last time on Thursday, I picked Adams and no touchdowns were scored. So in fear of ruining a Monday night doubleheader with 2 games and Adam having Aaron Jones as a touchdown scorer, I can't pick Adams. I have to pick its favorite. Neither one has to cover. Vecchio, let's get there. The one I'm worried about is the Hawkinson one a little bit, but I am in complete shock and surprise that neither one of you. Vecchio, I saw you going like this. Why is Justin Jefferson not a part of your breakdown there? Why
no Justin Jefferson, no Bijan Robinson. I have said repeatedly on this show that I don't prefer to bet the primary players because their lines are often very refined. They're very bet heavily, right? So those lines, they open up at 80, all of a sudden they're at 83, 84. And if you don't get them where they want, you miss the boat. So I believe in the player. But scoring, he went, 7 games in a row without scoring? He went through a large stretch this season without scoring. Then he had 2 last week. So I want to trust in just the yards, and then we'll get to the player who is going to score tonight.
Wow.
I will just say, look, I think Jefferson's going to have a great night. I do.
Yeah,
but I will say the thing that sort of scared me away from him is he's had very few bad games this year. I mean, really one, like, truly bad game. And that was in Chicago just a few weeks ago against this very same Bears team. He had 2 catches, 5 targets, 27 yards. As Tom alluded to, obviously didn't find the end zone. So I don't know if maybe the Bears have something schematically, defensively, strategically, where they say, you know what? We're comfortable with Hawkinson beating us. We're comfortable with Addison beating us. We're comfortable with Jones beating us. We are not going to let Jefferson beat us. And so they are putting extra attention on him. I don't know, Dave.
So when
do you see
look
it any
at,
differently?
When you got the wide receiver position thing, we could start looking at positions. I want to look at the wide receiver position thing right now. What on Jefferson's props would you want to bet under tonight? Is it the receptions? Is it the yardage? I mean, the anytime touchdown, he's a minus and he's a wide receiver, which normally doesn't happen. We've done this show so many times. I think he's catching a touchdown tonight. Vecchio, what is efficiently priced that keeps the great Tom Vecchio of those things off of legitimately one of the best receivers in the league?
He's so good that I'm not willing to bet unders, but I'm also not willing to bet an over. This is the same thing that I say about a lot of players, whether an NBA is a good example, not to go on too much of a rant, but someone like a Antetokounmpo, I'm never betting an under on him. And that doesn't mean I love the overs, but it also means I'd either bet the over or stay away. And for Jefferson, I think he can absolutely have 100 yards and a touchdown tonight. But that's not where I want my focus to be, because I want to go somewhere where I think there's more value, right? If Jefferson ended with 70 yards and a touchdown and Jordan Addison has over 100 yards and Jones has 2 on the ground, I don't think any of us would be surprised considering how bad this Bears defense is. So I just want to find the path of least resistance. And for me, that's TJ Hawkinson on the Vikings tonight.
I just think that the target volume of late in general is really interesting. You know, again, Jefferson, look, he is going to get you 8, 9, 10 targets most weeks. I know he had 5 against Chicago, but obviously 7, 9 each of the last couple of games. Addison, though, has become a real go-to receiver. Not the go-to receiver, but a go-to receiver within this passing game for Sam Darnold. 12 targets last game against the Falcons, who, of course, play later. 6, 9, 8 going back over the last month. TJ Hawkinson, now that he is getting a little bit more involved, just the 4 out of 5 last time, but 6 and 9 in the 2 games prior to that. We're just seeing Darnold truly spread the ball around, and you know, who gets open for the deep shot down the field or you know, has those long receptions, then it just becomes a little unpredictable, Dave. It almost makes you wonder, are you better sitting out the overs on certain guys and attacking their longest reception instead?
That's what I was going to say. So maybe Addison gets the longest reception play where Jefferson gets the other plays. But, I mean, I got buddies. My buddy Alfonso's watching, and Logan and Sam, and they're texting me right now saying, Dave, that suit looks amazing. But what about the Chicago guys? Don't you have a Chicago guy tonight with a receiver that you could actually make a case for over? Is it more? I don't know. I really don't.
I think the answer for Chicago is just very clearly Caleb Williams. The Vikings allow the 3rd most passing yards because their run defense is so good, and they're way often playing from in front. So the opposing teams have to pass the ball. But the problem with Chicago is that we don't know if it's going to be more. We don't know if it's going to be Cole Kmet. We don't know if it's going to be Keenan Allen, Rome Odunze. So they have too many options where actually just the safest option for Chicago is just trusting the yards with Caleb Williams, which he has been pretty good at over this last stretch of games. So it could be a big DJ Moore game, but it also could be a big Keenan Allen game, and that means we see Cole Kmet and DJ Moore fall a little bit further behind, and I just want to trust the Caleb Williams with him getting the yards because they will be playing from behind.
Man.
Yeah.
We got to talk about the other game.
What are you having and hawing about over there? Yeah, let's work in the other game because we only have about 20 minutes left in the show, and we're sort of, you know, pinballing between these two. But I agree with everything that Tom is about to say, and I haven't even heard him open his mouth on it yet. But I know where he's going, which is Drake London. Drake London here in this game tonight. And I'll let Tom expand. To give you some recent numbers, though, on London, He is 10 targets last week, 16 the game before that, 7 before that, 13 at the Saints, early November. He is routinely giving you 70, 80, 90 receiving yards. The volume guy, Tom, go ahead.
Let's go. Drake London hasn't scored in 4 weeks. I have routinely said it many times on the show, I want to buy into high usage players that haven't scored a number of weeks. As Adam said, over the last 4 weeks, he has 46 targets. So we're going Drake London TD, Drake London over 64.5 receiving yards, Drake London 70 plus. I also have a small play on 80 plus as well. On the entire season, he has a 27% target share. Darnell Mooney, 22.4%. Ray McLeod is at 16.9%. But when it comes to the red zone target share, Drake London is at 42.2% when the next player is Kyle Pitts at 20%. So while the target share overall is a little bit muddled at times, Drake London is the go-to guy in the red zone for Kirk Cousins, up at 42.2%. Some people may argue that's actually a little bit lower because you don't want to add in penalties and throwaways and all those sorts of things. Regardless, if you go down to the 36.2% number, which is that, we still see him 19% higher than Darnell Mooney. So when we have a primary receiver who hasn't scored in multiple weeks, this is the player that we want to be going to in a very important game for the Falcons. Drake London all the way up tonight.
Are you worried at all, either of you, but I'll start with you real quick on this, Tom, about Kirk Cousins potentially not making it all the way through this game and how what that impact is, obviously, on props of guys like Drake London?
Sure. When push comes to shove, if he gets pulled, they may simplify the offense and Bijan Robinson sees more at a certain point. But if they do pass the ball, Drake London is the best receiving option that the Falcons have. So if Michael Penix comes in, the plan should be, hey, let's just get our best player of the ball. It's either going to be Bijan Robinson or it's going to be Drake London. So there is a concern that the passing volume may decrease if we do see Penix come in. But when push comes to shove, it should be Drake London.
All right, we're going to have more with Tom, with Dave, when we return talking about these 2 games of Monday Night Football doubleheader less than 20 minutes away.
I want the mid-major teams. I want the A-10 to get 3 bids. I want, the Missouri Valley Conference to get an extra bid. I want these teams to go ahead that are 1-bid leagues and give some of these other teams opportunities to make the NCAA tournament. Simply put, folks, when we get to the tournament, we don't care about all these teams that are big-time teams.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
Right here with you on Pro Football Today on SportsGrid. Odds in motion, trying to see what lines have moved throughout the week.
Never felt more comfortable in this set than I do for this year. I'm ready. I'm just getting angry. The hot takes are going to be here all people.
You don't want them to go 13-0 and then lose the first round of the playoffs.
Red.
This is their last shot. They don't really have anywhere else to go here.
Hot take.
By the time I hit, I guess what, Route 33 up here, that ticket's cashing.
Only on SportsGrid.
Uncle Stevie can just walk up the aisle like he's at the supermarket. I'll get a starting pitcher here, I'll get a closer here, I'll get a first baseman here, and he'll just keep throwing things in the cart because there is no limit.
Now he's gone, so they got to go get arms to make that team better. Because the bottom line was they were just outclassed by the Dodgers. Let's face it, they got their ass beat.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid. The Bostonian versus the Book.
I remember one time, I don't know if Kenny will remember this. I said put 100 on, I think I left it on a text. Put 100 on this horse that won, and then Kenny called me back later and goes, hey, I never got the text. And I'm like,
no.
Oh, yeah. Remember that, Kenny?
I would never stiff anybody. When he texted me as they're loading into the gate, maybe, like, it's too late.
The Bostonian versus the Book.
Back here, Pro Football Today with Tom and Dave, of course, breaking down all the prop bets, everything you need to know about this Monday Night Football doubleheader. Begins at the top of the hour with the Bears at the Vikings, and then, of course, about half hour or so after that, the Falcons at the Raiders. Now, Dave, we were just getting Tom's thoughts on any concerns that we won't see Kirk Cousins all the way through this thing, what the impact potentially is on that Falcons offense, and obviously chasing overs on props like a Drake London, hell, like a Kyle Pitts. I mean, this is not a defense on the other side that is good against the tight end position. I'm not saying I would invest in Pitts, but he's woefully inconsistent, but maybe this is an opportunity for him to step forward. And of course, just Bijan Robinson and what he is capable of, both as a rusher and as a pass catcher. So what do you think?
I like Cousins tonight. I think Cousins is going to answer the bell. I mean, he's on the ropes. This is a veteran who's facing a must-win on the road to keep the season alive, because the Buccaneers keep winning, and now they're the team that nobody wants to play come January. So I think when you look at his prop, I mean, it's 242. So the passing yards that's high. We've done this show now 15 weeks in a row, and there's not a lot of times we come on here and the quarterback, especially the road one, has a passing prop of 242.5. I like it over. I think their path to success tonight is through the air. And now it may not be at the beginning, which is the danger of betting that thing over. Because if Bijan eats tonight, then Cousins is going under that number, and they're just going to hand the ball off left, hand the ball off right, and Bijan gets his. So that's the danger. But I'm thinking tonight, I think Cousins gets healthy. I think Atlanta pretends like they're still in the hunt, which, we're getting to that point in the season where the graphics, I know they're in the hunt, Adam, but they're not really in the hunt, right? Come on.
Sure they are. Of course they are. Absolutely. I'm going to pull up the standings while we're
they can absolutely
rambling on and on. I'm not saying Atlanta is a Super Bowl contender or anything like that, but if in the hunt is defined by, making the playoffs, getting into the dance and hoping and praying,
that's fine.
Right now we have got NFC South. Tampa is 8-6, obviously off the 4 straight wins, and Atlanta has dropped 4 in a row, really fumbling the bag, falling to 6-7. You get a win tonight, you're obviously a game back at that point in time. You're 7-6, and you're very much alive down the stretch here. Could break down upcoming schedule or whatever another time.
That's fine.
I'm fully on board with Kirk Cousins having a good game. Like you said, if there's any time for him to actually have a good game with no Max Crosby on the other side. I know Kirk Cousins has looked like a statue back there at times, but this is the one game for him to actually have a little bit of time to move the ball, right? Actually have a little time to go through his reads. Will an interception happen? I don't know, maybe. I prefer to talk about an interception in the other game, but to see Kirk Cousins have a good game on the road against a bad Vegas defense, I don't think should surprise anyone tonight. And like you said, Dave, he wants to have a good, he needs to have a good game, et cetera, et cetera. So yeah, over on Cousins.
When you talk
about, I got to tell you too, by the way, Dave, they're playing the Raiders, the Giants, and the Panthers are 3 out of their last 4. They could absolutely win this division.
Raiders, Giants, Panthers. Listen, that Panthers game is going to be tougher than you would have said, a couple weeks ago. Although yesterday the Panthers didn't do themselves any bit of, as the first time being favored in 33 games, that they ain't going to be favored no more. The odds makers are not going to give you any more handouts or gifts like that where they're going to be favored. I don't know. Look at the list of guys to score a touchdown tonight in this game. Oh, yeah. It's Bijan minus what? 240? And then everyone else is plus?
Nuts. I love this. These are the situations we've talked about before, right? Vinny, if we have the graphic for the touchdown score for the Atlanta Raiders game, like you said, it's Robinson, but then everyone else is at plus money. So we're going to get some scoring when their team total's at 24.5, 25.5, whatever it is for the Falcons. Outside of not first half, but anytime TD, outside of Robinson, let's get these other players involved. And one of them is going to be Drake London tonight. Keep the star wide receivers happy.
Okay. Can we get Ray McLeod? I just like saying Ray. I nicknamed the guy Ray. His name was Ray in the risk room, and I started calling him Ray. And he said, "Why do you keep saying my name twice?" I said, "Because anybody with the name Ray deserves it twice." So I like calling him Ray. I would love to see Ray. Yeah. See?
I'll tell you what. I've seen a lot of, industry quote unquote experts, a lot of people in the space when I was looking earlier. I was like, yeah, who are the popular prop bets tonight? I wonder where everybody's really invested. I did McLeod, over 49.5%. There are a lot of people that want to see Ray McLeod get some done tonight.
That's why I mentioned his name. When one of those things happens like that, you really start to wonder. And the book just keeps the app open and doesn't even really move the number, takes all the bets. I hope for all of them, Adam, I hope Ray gets there. And then, we'll tweet about it later. Are you guys going to focus on one game or the other tonight? Or are you going to let the game kind of dictate it? Because I think the majority of people are watching game one and only going to game two during their commercial breaks.
I'm going to be watching when, Atlanta has the ball specifically in that second game, just to see if it's going to Drake London.
Yeah.
I mean, are you guys telling me that here in the year of our Lord 2024, not everyone has a multiple screen setup? I just thought that was, common practice now.
This is great. We got a show going on in front, and we got these guys. This is great. This right side guy I hear him in my sleep. It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
The Eagles win, and now everybody's talking about them, and now they're talking about them in their ear. No, Adam.
I thought I was having a fever dream.
Screens. No, it wasn't a fever dream. It's all about the Eagles. Everybody's talking about the Eagles.
Listen, I'm not saying you need to have this elaborate, multi-TV whatever set, but, you got a TV and a phone, don't you?
It's true.
You got a computer, don't you?
Games on my phone. I don't like watching the games on my phone. My phone is to text you. That's what my phone is for.
I appreciate that. I like to text you too, buddy. We got much more on these two games. Some best bets. We haven't really gone in depth on the running backs. We could talk about Bijan, Jones, others that are available to you roster tonight, and anything else that we have in store, obviously, before we sign off, because, again, this game rapidly approaching. So go nowhere, and as Dave alluded to, with Right Side and Wrong Way and whoever else, we got a lot more coming up on SportsGrid after us.
I want the mid-major teams. I want the A-10 to get 3 bids. I want, the Missouri Valley Conference to get an extra bid. I want these teams to go ahead that are one-bid leagues and give some of these other teams opportunities to make the NCAA tournament. Simply put, folks, when we get to the tournament, we don't care about all these teams that are big-time teams.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
Right here with you on Pro Football Today on SportsGrid. Odds in motion, trying to see what lines have moved throughout the week.
Never felt more comfortable in this set than I do for this year. I'm ready. I'm just getting angry. The hot takes are going to be here all people.
You don't want them to go 13-0 and then lose the first round of the playoffs.
Red.
This is their last shot. They don't really have anywhere else to go yet.
Hot take.
By the time I hit, guess what, Route 33 up here, that ticket's cashed.
Only on SportsGrid.
Uncle Stevie can just walk up the aisle like he's at the supermarket. I'll get a starting pitcher here, I'll get a closer here, I'll get a first baseman here, and he'll just keep throwing things in the cart because there is no limit.
Now he's gone, so they got to go get arms to make that team better. Because the bottom line was they were just outclassed by the Dodgers. Let's face it, they got their ass beat.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid. The Bostonian versus the Book.
I remember one time, I don't know if Kenny will remember this. I said put 100 on, I think I left it on a text. Put 100 on this horse that won, and then Kenny called me back later and goes, hey, I never got the text. And I'm like,
no.
Oh, yeah. Remember that, Kenny?
I would never stiff anybody. When he texted me as they're loading into the gate, maybe, it's too late.
The Bostonian versus the Book.
All right, we got you just a few more minutes here on Pro Football Today. Again, two games on the way to wrap up Week 15 in the NFL. Again, this show firmly believes the Vikings are going to go out and win in all likelihood comfortably. And as far as that second game goes, there's a little bit of fear, maybe a little bit of fear that the Raiders could keep things close, but probably the Falcons end up prevailing. That one is just a little less emphatic here from the show. Dave, this is about the time that we typically look toward the future. We pull out the Gray Sports Almanac and get your thoughts on what is going to happen in the NFL. What are you looking at?
Well, I mentioned it in the first segment, whatever that was, maybe the second segment, about Atlanta playing the Giants next. You should play Atlanta minus the 10 right now if you think Atlanta's going to win convincingly tonight, i.e. cover the spread. Okay? So bet that next week. If you're betting Atlanta tonight, it'll be worth it. You'll get the best number. But you showed the NFC South division odds. I mean, it's about the Tampa, and Tampa is on the way. So when you look at the futures to win the NFC or to win the Super Bowl, Tampa's getting that buzz. And I'm here to tell you that Tampa maybe could win a game because they're going to host a game in the playoffs. Right. Okay. But they're going to have to play a second game. And if the Philadelphia Eagles get the second game and Tampa's going to go down there, I mean, there's a lot of people on the network that are Philadelphia Eagle fans, and they just keep going and going and going. K-Dub, I'm looking at you. Donnie Rightside, you too. All right? I lost the bet. The Steelers lost to the Eagles, and they said you got to wear the Eagles stuff on the show. The Vikings are playing. They're not wearing purple. Plans change, and I wore the purple to match the purple. But futures, Eagles, NFC, Eagles to win the Super Bowl in exactas. Look at this price. They're now the co-favorite. Well, in some books out here, they're the co-favorite. AFC Championship, you flash that by the Buffalo Bills, ladies and gentlemen, are now your odds-on favorite to win the Super Bowl. Do you agree with that, Vecchio? Are the Buffalo Bills the best team in football?
Don't take too long to answer that. I got another question for you, too. Go ahead.
I've been on record saying many times that the Lions are the class of the NFL, but we're getting to a point where the injuries are just far too much for them to deal with. And while they've had all the steam coming into the year, it's getting to a point where we just don't know what we're going to get from them on a defensive basis after getting the comeback from Caleb Williams on Thursday night, the comeback Thursday night of Thanksgiving, the comeback of last Thursday, and now this game. It is getting tough to continue to back the Lions. I do think it is the Bills.
Adam, bad beat or not, real quick, David Montgomery, season-long rushing total number, 775 yards, set by the boys at FanDuel. He goes out. He has to have his knee fixed. He's not playing another game. Do you know what his rushing yards were as he exited the game yesterday? 775.
Was it like 775?
775. It's one of the worst beats in the history of sports betting. I can't believe it. What a job by the odds makers. 775.
That's absolutely terrible. Yeah. Injuries, I can't even tell you what injuries have done to me in the futures market. Real quick before we wrap, Vecchio, we spent a lot of time obviously talking about some of the wideouts and pass catchers that we really like. We really haven't mentioned Brock Bowers or Jacoby Myers at all for the Raiders. And I'm sure a lot of that has to do with the Desmond Ridder factor. But what's your level of trust in these two guys who, generally speaking, are the target monsters within that offense?
The trust level would be, hey, let's just get the ball to Brock Bowers. Their running back room, their running depth is an absolute mess with Sincere McCormick in there. Should be seeing some carries today. But like I said, when we talked about Penix coming in potentially, they'll go, just get the ball to your best player. Like that should just be the plan. Keep it as simple as possible. Get Brock Bowers the ball. He has, 10 targets, 7 receptions for 80 some odd yards. That's ultimately their best path of moving the ball down the field and scoring anything on offense tonight.
More so than Jacoby Myers? I mean, he gets more of a target share.
The deep shots will absolutely be there, and I'm not worried about this Falcons defense in any capacity, but the simple underneath routes of picking up first downs come to Brock Bowers.
Yeah. Sure. Dave, how do you see it?
Listen, I'm done talking about this game. I don't want to think about this game anymore. I can't get down. I'm not even going down there. I got invited to the
ask
game.
You which game you'll be watching then.
I'll be watching the Vikings. How are they not wearing purple at home? You should be wearing purple. I'm wearing the purple suit. I broke it out for them. Go Vikings. purple is the best color of the rainbow. They have the uniforms, and they went all white. I just don't understand it. I don't know what they're doing tonight. Aggravated.
Unbelievable. There's much more coming your way on SportsGrid. Hopefully the SGPs or SGP Plus we gave you will have a knack for hitting. For Vinny, Tommy, everyone behind the scenes, for Tom and Grimace, I'm Adam. We'll talk to you again real soon here on Pro Football Today. Thursday show on the way.